Call transportation to order. 2 members absent, currently Bloomfield and Abraham, the rest are present. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes from July 5th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by member Abel, second by member Reeves. Do you have any comments or questions? No. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Recommendation of bills. We have bills totaling $6,361,840.24. Do I have a motion? Motion by Vice Chair Soldner, second by member Abel. Do we have any questions about the bills? No? All right, all those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Bills are approved. Do you have any appearance by members of the public or county employees?
We've had no requests for this meeting.
Anybody watching, you can come and see us if you want sometime. We're always here at 8 o'clock. Departmental matters. 4A1, request approval of preliminary engineering services agreement for the Route 66 bike trail with Hanson Professional Services, Inc. Section 23-00001-06-BT. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abel, second by Vice Chair Soldner. Jerry?
Thank you. So this is the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program grant that we got for the Route 66 trail that will go from basically the village of McLean to just south of Funks Grove, where we left off a couple of years ago. And so this will be the last section that we have phase 1 approved. Phase 1 is all the environmental stuff, and that was approved in I think like 2006 or 2007 timeframe. And so we just kind of built different sections along here. So this agreement was with Hanson. They've done a couple other sections of the bike trail, and they were also the ones that did the phase 1. And so they're going to do the engineering here as well. So they're going to probably take a year to get it designed, and we're looking to go to construction in 2025. And so the ITEP grant we received included the design, the engineering, phase 2 engineering for the design, and also the construction. So the total grant was around like 2.6 million was the ITEP grant, and then we have to match 20% of that with the Route 66 consortium, which consists of the town of Normal, City of Bloomington, McLean County, and then some of the other smaller municipalities along the route. And so then we take care of all the engineering side of it, review the plans, and put it out for bid. And then we work with those entities to get reimbursed or pay the state directly on this type of application.
Any questions? No? All right, all those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right, 4A2, request approval of supplemental motor fuel tax resolution, Horse Farm Road, CH 21, section 19-00058-07-WR. I have a motion. Motion by member Abel, second by Vice Chair Soldner.
So this is our Horse Farm Road project that we currently have going. We originally kind of estimated it was going to cost around $4 million, and kind of with the price increases with some of the materials and then kind of the location of the project, the cost was a little bit more than what we had estimated. But so this is a resolution to appropriate additional motor fuel tax funds, and so we have our good balance in our motor fuel tax. Originally, I was hoping to use some balances in our other funds, but those with some other projects we have going, I think that's the trend that it's going is we're going to be using all that money for these other projects, and so I thought this would be a good cushion to help us use some of the additional motor fuel tax. We've already had around like $3 million appropriated out of the motor fuel tax, so this is just going to add another $500,000 for this project from the motor fuel tax fund.
Any questions?
I I could even do it an hour ago when we go to the summaries, but I'm trying to remember, we've done work on this in the past, was it to raise it up to 80,000 or something? Seems like 8 or 10 years ago or whatever we did it, we spent a lot of money on this road, and I'm trying to remember what that was.
So this particular project is going from the county line to Route 136.
That's right.
And then the previous project I think you're referencing is from 136 to Leroy.
That's right.
So yes.
Okay, thank you.
This is a full reconstruction project where they took out basically the whole road and went down all new aggregate and everything, widened the ditches out and purchased right away.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Request is approved. Next is 4A3, request approval of rail loop access road use agreement. Okay, I need a motion. Motion by member Abel, second by Vice Chair Soldner. Chair.
So this is kind of came about the last couple of weeks with a wind farm that is actually related down in Mason County, Illinois, and so there's an elevator on 2550 East Road that has a rail loop access, and they, for the last 4 or 5 years since that elevator's been built, some other wind farm entities have dropped components there, towers and cells and the blades for the wind turbines for different wind farms around the state, because it's a good location. They got the room to store it there, and so a lot of times they store them there, and then they work with the road commissioner to haul these things out by truck then to the particular wind farm. But in this instance, in this year, IDOT is planning to do a microsurfacing project on Route 24 that's going to start here in the next couple weeks. And so we've done a couple of those microsurfacing projects as well on some of our roads, and a lot of times that they don't like the turning of the trucks on this type of material. So they're wanting them to at least let the road set up like a week, and it'll probably take a week for them to do it, and then they want the road to set a week. So what they want to do is, so right now it's a hot mix road from Route 24 up to the elevator facility, and so that's an 80,000 pound route. So they work with the road commissioner to get a road use agreement on other wind farms that they've had. And then this particular one they're actually wanting to go north to the county line and then back over to the west and then down our Meadows Road that was just redone, and then go through part of Lexington to access Interstate 55. And so they're looking for like a 2-week time period that they need to do this, depending on when the IDOT work is going on. So we got the road use agreement in place, kind of took what Shinoa already had and then kind of modified it to fit the county's needs. And so these a lot of times these components they're heavy, but they got a large number of axles underneath them. So it's I'm not too worried about the weight or any damage to the road. It's a little different than like if they're actually building a wind farm where you got the concrete trucks, aggregate trucks, and the constant the constant loading on this. This loading is going to be spread out, and so the road use agreement. I kind of looked at our permit fees to come up with everything and what we would charge if they were just getting the permit fees. Added some administration costs, maybe, and kind of speculated that we might do some additional maintenance costs, because there is a mile from Route 24 to the county line that's oil and chip. So if it gets warm, we might have to do some additional chipping and everything. Or if there is damage to the road, then it's on this wind farm company to take care of anything that needs fixing or anything that needs repaired. And then they're also looking at, they might have to widen some of the radii out to be able to make the turns. And I think that's kind of what they're looking at now. And so we'll work with them on that as well. So just a kind of something here that it's kind of unique, but we're trying to make it so I can get their project done, but then they can also get their components delivered as needed.
Members Oldner?
So I was looking at the map here, so pretty much they're gonna go north of the laydown yard up to the county line. You know, this is what you said, then over to the Meadows Road. Come down past go over 55 at that overpass by the ISU farm into Lexington.
Yes, yeah, they'll still be on our Meadows Road, but yes, it'll be the ISU Farm's like a mile over.
And then when they get to the edge of Lexington, they'll take our county road to the west, which goes by that trailer park and then out by Casey's.
Yes.
And so that's really only, when I heard PJ Keller, I was thinking all the way over to 51, but they're not going that far. They're
No.
just going to 55.
Right.
Do they have to get any permission or any permits or anything from the city of Lexington?
No, I'm gonna let the mayor know, but they're all staying on our county roads.
Right.
So they shouldn't have to need anything from Lexington at all.
And the Meadows Road was just done, so it should be in pretty good shape as far as being able to handle it.
Right.
The concern would be the Keller Highway Road, and it's in pretty decent shape. I don't know, has it been worked on in the past few years?
Well, for the Blooming Grove Wind Farm,
That's right.
they also use that section of road, so it was resurfaced last year as well.
Right,
So that this whole stretch was just resurfaced in 2022.
and I'm sure they get truck traffic on there anyhow.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. So I think we're thinking like I think there's like 11 pieces to one turbine, and they were trying to like deliver one turbine a day.
and it'll mostly be equipment as opposed to concrete.
Right. It'll just be like long semi trucks with
Right,
10 to 15 axles.
right. Okay, thanks.
Member Reeves?
Do you know what those trucks weigh?
They
And what components they're hauling?
It varies.
So is it everything from the towers to the cell to the blades?
Yes. We're talking anywhere from 120,000 loads to 240,000 loads. And so we try to put like 20,000 tons per axle and make sure they have enough axles. And then,
20,000 pounds, right?
yeah, and
Maximum axle loaded.
yes. And then so there's like 3 county bridges that they also have to cross as well. And so the company already has had the structural analysis done to allow those loads to cross these structures.
Okay. Why don't they just, if it's only for 2 weeks, $50,000 for 2 weeks, why don't they just delay the project and go out the other way? That seems like a lot of money. That's $3,750 a day, and they can't move these on Sunday, as best I know.
Right.
So it's even more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It must be losing some. I don't know the specifics behind what their business, how they operate. I think from my understanding, they're maybe going to start hauling out Monday, so they might be able to haul out for like 10 days until the microsurfacing goes down, and then they just need an alternate route to keep everything moving down on the project side.
There's a sunset clause in this? Or can you
Yes.
use this in perpetuity?
No, this agreement ends September 16th, so it's only like for a month's time. And so if they need to extend it further, then we'll probably ask for additional monies to accommodate that.
In the event that there's a violation here, what's the remedy for a dispute? Let's say use of bulldozer or crawler vehicle, and what does that constitute?
And that was kind of taken probably from language from an actual wind farm itself. So if this is gonna be a little different because they're not gonna have dozers around and going up there. It's mainly that I think those violations are if they go down a road they're not supposed to go down. If they go down a township road or they go down another county road that they're not supposed to. Let's say they end up going through Lexington or they keep going straight on PJ Keller, then that'd be the type of violations that we would have. there, but I think some of this actually applies to more wind farm construction type stuff. But we just kind of use the same.
Well, it doesn't say hauling a bulldozer, it just says use of a bulldozer. I didn't know if that was like crossing the roads.
Right. Right. They're not going to have any. I mean, I guess we should have taken that off, but they're not. We're not anticipating having any bulldozers out on our roads, or I think that's what that would mean.
So in the event of a dispute, what's the remedy? He said, she said.
That's usually what we get into it. You know, usually if we're ever doing something like this, a violation, we got to have proof. We usually have pictures, or there's substantial damage, or the road. We've had it to where one time we had a crane that got stuck trying to make a turn, so it was pretty obvious that what they were doing. So I think there was one time we even had a hauler company that gave us their map, their like GIS mapping, and we followed it, and it was on roads that they weren't supposed to be on. So then we just submitted that and said, here's your violation type of thing on additional wind farms.
Are these fees for the permits consistent with the Illinois Department of Transportation's fee schedule?
I don't know. I think our fees are higher than what the IDOT's fees are. But this it started from IDOT because I think they were trying to get their permit fees from IDOT, and then when they wanted to start using some of our county roads and looking at different options, because originally what they were wanting to do is just come straight and go by the ISU Farms Road, and then come back on our Meadows Road closer to Lexington and across. But the road commissioner's kind of worried about using the township roads that were oil and chip north of the ISU Farms, and so he thought, he wants to repair the mile from the elevator going, or that 3/4 of a mile from the elevator going north, and so he's already got plans in the works to do that. And then so he thought it'd be better to tear up the 1 mile versus the other 4 miles in this township.
So you're gonna take a 240,000 pound load down an oil and chip road?
Mhm.
You've blessed it?
I mean, if they tear it up, they'll.
Okay. Okay, I'm done.
Comment from our attorney?
Just as Member Reed's question about remedies, the contract does authorize the fine of $2,500 and any dispute about a fine imposed, or really any portion of the contract, would be in McLean County courts.
Members Holden?
Is there any advantage to the wind farm for using this route as opposed to their Route 24 to 55? What I'm getting at is, it looks to me like this is kind of a pain for them to have to do this. So I wouldn't expect that they'd want to extend it unless the Route 24 project got delayed or whatever. And so, to me, I like the idea that we got fines and all that, but I don't expect that they would necessarily want to go this route if they didn't have to.
No, we had a meeting last week, and that question was brought up that as soon as that week setup period for the microsurfacing was complete, that they were going to go back to using their original route.
And this has happened relatively soon.
Yes, I believe they're wanting to start the microsurfacing work next week sometime.
My only concern is with school starting, there may be a lot of issues where they're trying to bring equipment around the turn there on the edge of Lexington, and they got school buses and all that, but they'll have to deal with that, I guess, however they do.
Sure.
But I think you have some good points. I mean, a lot of times we get into agreements and all of a sudden there's an issue, and then what do we do about it? But it sounds like they've got that experience knowing that sometimes things happen, and so I'm glad you brought that up, Adam, because that's could be concern.
Member Reed?
So is there any township bridges that they're gonna be crossing?
No, just one. There was like a concrete box culvert. It's not a bridge. They may have looked at that as well, and
Do they use like a bridge jumper, or
no,
it'll support it
it'll support it.
because of the axle loading
Mhm.
limits?
Okay, I've got one question then. So you said earlier that they would probably have to make some changes at some of the turns to make it wide enough. How are they gonna get onto 55? Cause that's gotta be, they're coming up and across, right? So that's gonna be a lot harder turn for them to make onto the on-ramp than any of the others, right? And it's not necessarily gonna be one that can be maneuvered as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. They haven't said anything about that. I mean, there is a turn lane there, so they'll probably be blocking both the turn lane and the through lane, and then swinging out onto the shoulder of the ramp and to make those turns.
That would be I mean, we did just finish fixing these roads, so
Right.
my worry is that
I know.
I'd have to go back in and refix them, but if they're gonna do that, if they make any problems, I'm all right with it, so. Member Reeves?
Will this prevent anybody, landowner, homeowner, from using that road while they're traversing down that road?
No. I mean, they may have to wait for the component to cross or to make the turn, that type of thing. The good thing about on the township side of things, there's no homes on there, and then on our county highway from Route 24 to the county line, there's 2 homes, and then it should be a straight shot from 24 to there, but they shouldn't be parked along the road or they shouldn't block anybody's access.
Any other questions? All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right, items to be presented for information. Project summaries, B1. Jerry, you wanna walk us through?
So the first one was a Horse Farm Road, and so the contractors were moving right along until we got all the rain over the weekend. Which probably slowing down this week, but so it's a 2-mile project, and so they have 1.5 miles of the 1x3 rock, and then also the millings on there, and then once they get all the millings done, then they're going to come back and put 2 inches of CA6 on top of the millings. And so here's a couple pictures kind of on the south end of the project that's done. You can kind of see a little bit of the remnants of the oversized rock that's underneath there, and then the millings on top. And so it actually is moving along pretty good. It's kind of this is on the south end of the project looking north, and this is the finished grade of the millings, and then 2 inches of limestone CA6 will go on top of that, and that's going to go through a paver, and then they'll get that all shaped up and then ready for hot mix. So the goal is hopefully by the end of the month they'll be hot mixing this road. Any questions on that project?
So their goal is by the end of, barring weather, end of the month, be done with that?
They probably won't be completely done. They'll probably hopefully be done with all the paving and everything and the shoulders. There'll still be seeding and additional cleanup work, riprap work, and some things like that, guardrail and everything. So
Is the millings the same as recycled asphalt products? Right.
yes, yeah. So they do a gradation. It's got to be certified by the state. So the gradation is the same as CA6, but just a little bit cheaper than the actual CA6. So because originally we were looking at putting 6 inches of the limestone CA6, and we were able to save a little bit of money by using 4 inches of the recycled asphalt millings.
So when you do that, do you have to haul it off? It gets sized and then comes back, or does it stay on site?
This is the contractor already had stockpiles of the millings, and then they do the gradations and they make them, and then they hauled it to the site.
So what's the advantage of that versus just fresh CA6? Is there a cost savings?
Yeah, it was probably like $10 a ton difference on between the millings and the CA6. I think if it depends on where we're at. If we would have been closer to the quarries for the limestone, we might have, like we did on the Meadows Road, where that was fully 6 inches of the CA6, and but the haul from going from north from north of Weston down here is on the trucking side was what killed us.
If it's $10 a ton, why not just put in the full lift in the rack?
I didn't really want to pave right on the wrap. I wanted the limestone to have. I wanted the limestone in there to be as like a buffer between the hot mix and the wrap.
For bonding reasons or what?
Just for structural, it's going to be harder. The limestone is going to actually be harder than what the millings are, and so I just I thought that'd be a better layer to have in there versus the wrap. Any other questions on that project? So the next project is the Saybrook Aerosmith Road. I don't have any picture of that project. That project's complete, and so it's kind of just the final cost on that. So that was our cold in place recycle project that we did this year. That project turned out really good. And then the Riddle Pit Road, that was another project that we did that was related to the Blooming Grove Wind Farm. They just finished the last oil and chip layer last week, and so we're just finishing up the documentation on that for the final paperwork. And then the Hoffman Bridge project, this is out by Colfax. And so these are kind of pictures that have been just kind of taken randomly over the last month or so. So this is the east pier, and then this is the east abutment. And so the sheet piling here was where they put it's called a cofferdam, to where they drive these sheet piling in here to make sure this hole is dry, and then they excavated it out and then drove these steel pile in here. And so then they cut them all off to length, and so there's kind of another picture of the rebar in the abutments, and just another picture of the piers. There's some more forming of the abutment, and then this is what it looks like after it was poured, at least one side of it. So you can see, so they poured the pier and the abutments in the same day. And it was, I think, a little over 100 cubic yards of concrete that they poured. So they did, so this is the west side of the bridge, and then they started on the east side. And so they're actually pulling out some of the sheets around this abutment to use on the east side, and then this is kind of the east abutment to look at the where after the forms have all been stripped, and then so there's one where on the east pier with the form stripped, and you can see where they started putting in the pile or the cofferdam over there on the west side of the bridge. And there's kind of not a really good picture, but this is the piling that they put for the west abutment, and so then here is the cofferdam and some of the forms on the west pier that they're currently putting rebar in. This is the west abutment, and so and then here's kind of a picture from the west side of the bridge looking east of the abutment and the piers there. So so they're getting ready to pour this maybe at the end of this week or early next, pour the abutment and the pier on this bridge. So and then once they pour that, then they'll pour the abutment cap, and then they'll bring in the steel beams and set those on those abutments and piers. And so I think they're supposed to be doing that right here at the end of the month or first part of September as well, and then they'll have to form the deck, and that'll probably take a month at least to just form the deck. Any questions on that?
Will those piers require anti-scouring like we did on those other bridges?
Yes, we are putting riprap all the way around those piers. A lot of times on the piers we don't encase them like that. We leave them open, but we thought this bridge has tendency to catch a lot of debris, everything. So we thought enclosing them would be better in this situation. And then the last project on the list is the Danvers Uton Road. So this is our federal project. Goes from Danvers to the Danvers Uton elevator, or actually Rivian Motorway. And so this is a picture at Olympia North Elementary School. We went in and replaced all the curb along there because it was all buried. This cemetery here on this north side of the road. So really all they've done is a lot of the concrete work. They got that out of the way, and then on Monday they're going to come in and start milling the road. And then after they mill it, they're going to do the 4-foot widening, and then they'll start the hot mix layers on that as well. So I just got some additional pictures of some of the sidewalk there. You can see the school in the background, and some other sidewalk with handicap ramps, and then they'll come in and mill the road, and then they'll place the hot mix to these ramps. And this is kind of a picture looking back to the west. So we did some curb work here, and then we also got some curb work around the elevator at the intersection. Well, actually a little bit east of the elevator, the intersection of White Oak Road and then Maple Road as they come around there. So all that's done, and so like I said, we're just waiting on for the contractor to get in there and start milling the road. Any questions on anything or any of those projects?
So, all right, we'll move on. Number 5, departmental matters. Administrator Taylor, do we have anything?
Nothing to report for this committee.
Other business communication, the next meeting will be September 5th at 8 a.m. back in this room again, our nice cozy room. So, does anybody have anything else? Nope. All right, well, meeting's adjourned. Have a good day.
Thank you.